people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome, and let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to AARP Illinois' special virtual event. I'm Courtney Hedderman, Senior Associate State Director for Advocacy and Outreach here in AARP. I'm your Fraud-Fighting Fraudlettes. I'm thrilled to be bringing the latest on frauds and scams and ultimately arming you with the information you need for prevention and reporting if you're ever a victim. As you can see, I'm missing my partner in crime today, Teresa Jones. She's not able to be with us this month, but don't worry, she will be back next month. In the meantime, you've got me, but I'm so excited. We are talking about a very hot topic today, and that is cryptocurrency. A lot's been happening around this if you've been watching any of the media and news. I'm pleased to welcome our very special guest, Kathleen Alcorn. Kathleen is a partner, CEO, Director of Government and Global Relations. She's an international consultant, federal lobbyist, and past civil servant. She is a super user of cryptocurrency and really an expert on keeping people safe when doing anything with digital assets and financial security. She is truly awesome. You're going to love hearing from her. I'm so happy she's able to join us this morning. So welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you so much, Courtney, and thank you for having me here. And of course, shout out to Teresa. We are thinking of you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. So before we just start our discussion, I'd like to remind everybody on Facebook or YouTube, however you're watching us, if you have any questions or comments, anything, please put them in the social media feeds. We'll do our best to address as many questions as we can during our conversation. So put your questions or comments in there. Okay, so let me kick things off as we normally do, and I'll start some questions. We're obviously talking about cryptocurrency, and I have a feeling a lot of people don't even really fully understand what that is. And I totally get that because I've been in that as I've been learning about this issue. So Kathleen, break it down. What is cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency, my gosh, it is so many wonderful things. It is a blockchain-based digital asset. So, and that's the key point of this is blockchain. So that is the core of most of my work. There's so many different wonderful things out there based on blockchain. So cryptocurrency is just one of many uses of blockchain-based technology. Cryptocurrency can be used anywhere in the world. The purpose is to get rid of the middleman, which in this case would be a bank possibly, even though there are many huge banks building their own cryptocurrency as we speak. So they are certainly exploring that. But yeah, it is the future of currency throughout the world. In fact, there's many countries building their own cryptocurrency as their national asset in place of regular fiat currency.
So people probably have heard maybe like the types of cryptocurrency, like the names of them. So like, what are kind of those popular cryptocurrencies or like the currencies that people might have heard about? So then kind of even gets, then people might again recognize, oh yeah, that's what that is. What are those?
So there's so many different ones. The original is Bitcoin, of course, which everybody has heard about. It has exceeded over 100,000 per Bitcoin, which is extraordinary. I predicted that would happen within 10 years. That happened in 3 years since I made that prediction. So that's incredible. So Bitcoin is your original cryptocurrency. And then after that, you have Ethereum, which is basically like your Bitcoin 0.2. 2.0 or 2.0, however you want to refer to it. And that's just a more advanced technology on the blockchain-based system. And then you have other ones that have made a lot of media, including XRP, which I'm a huge fan of. That was under a huge investigation for many years by the SEC. And I did a podcast through the Illinois Continuing Law Education group on that topic. Once the SEC would determine that there is no wrongdoing, because I knew there wasn't, that would become the regulatory platform for the United States to base their regulatory the regulations and laws based on the usage of public cryptocurrency for our U.S. citizens. And that would be the basis that we would use those platforms to exchange those funds with other countries as well.
Gotcha. That's a lot. Okay. So I think even breaking it down, like people might have heard, right, of cryptocurrency. They might have heard of Bitcoin and things. So they but what do people use cryptocurrency for? Like how do you use it?
You can use it for so many things. So there are vendors all over the place, even the United States, that accept cryptocurrency. The first cryptocurrency exchange was to buy a pizza. I mean, wow. That's pretty exciting. So if your vendor accepts cryptocurrency, you can use it for the purchase of goods and services. I personally, for me, it's pure investment. So it's great. There's even not-for-profits that accept cryptocurrency. There's a not-for-profit called the Liberland Aid Foundation that started its own cryptocurrency through this country called Liberland, which is the first blockchain-based country in the world. And that currency has already exceeded $9 a coin. So that's pretty exciting. So there's many different uses for it. So how you choose to use it would be a personal preference, of course.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've mentioned blockchain a couple of times. I just want to make sure people understand what that is. So can you give a little bit about blockchain, what exactly that is?
Blockchain is a very, very complex subject, but it's very important because it is what all businesses will eventually be using. Most of your everyday transactions will be based on blockchain in some form or another, including your insurance, banking, legal documents. There are countries in Africa that, including Cameroon, which is very exciting, that are building blockchain schools. Actually, they already built the blockchain schools for their grade school children. So other countries have really been focusing on this for their future, especially based on their government programs. So imagine having your digital ID, your identity, your birth certificate, your marriage records, your land records, your driver's license, your fishing license even, all on one digital platform that cannot be taken away from you in the event of a natural disaster, war, cyber attack, whatever. All of that information is incredibly secured and yours to access.
So is it kind of like a digital ledger?
Yes, that is one use of it. Yes. So yes. Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, great. Okay, so there's probably some good, there's benefits of using cryptocurrency, but there probably are some challenges too. So can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. So the challenge is I would relate it to things you already know, like investing in stocks and bonds, for example, things like that. There's no guarantee to anything. So you can't go in there believing that you're going to be an instant millionaire because Bitcoin exceeded $100,000. With anything, you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. And there's a huge educational component to using cryptocurrency. You have to set up a wallet. All the crypto exchanges within the United States, they use very, very stringent KYC, know your customer, protocols that are used with banking and other financial institutions. And those are all laws set forth by FinCEN. And I'm going to segue into the crypto ATMs too, because those are all required to be registered with FinCEN as well.
Yeah. Okay. So perfect segue. So sometimes people think of it as like an ATM or like a kiosk, but like that's a lot of ways of how someone either, buys something, sells something, invests in something when they're doing anything with cryptocurrency at these kiosks, right? So right. Tell us more about the kiosk, because that is definitely getting a lot of play right now, I feel like, in the news media.
Oh yeah, and AARP, my gosh, kudos to you guys for being way ahead of that and engaging in that very important conversation. So yeah, the kiosks are very much like your other ATM fiat kiosks. You can withdraw cash depending on how it's set up. There are fees associated with it. You need a wallet set up for that. You can buy and sell and trade crypto through the kiosk. You can share crypto. You can do many different things with the kiosk depending on how they're set up.
Gotcha. Okay. So how would someone find a kiosk near them, I guess? Are they all over the place, or like where would we find a kiosk?
So the best way is just to do the same way you would find like your, like your shipping drop box, whatever shipping method you use. I would Google that and say USPS drop off near me and look that up. And there's usually like a map with that. That's the same thing with the crypto kiosks as well. You can just do a quick search and it will direct you to the nearest cryptocurrency kiosk.
I feel like there's more and more of the kiosks. People might not. It's like, how sometimes, you pass the same thing all the time down the road, and then all of a sudden one day you realize like, oh, has that always been there? That's a little bit how these crypto kiosks are to me. Like they are popping all over. And I've realized like they're in my grocery store. And I didn't even realize it. And that thing has probably been there for a long time. Didn't even realize it was a crypto kiosk, but it does seem like they're all over now.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so guilty of the same thing, Courtney, because I don't use crypto kiosks myself personally. I just didn't pay attention to them, so they weren't in my radar. And then just happened to notice one standing next to the ATM I was using, and then I started to pay more attention. And they have very clear signage on them.
That's even the funnier part. There's clear signage, and I completely missed it. I don't know. We're creatures of habit. I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So say I want to go to a kiosk and buy cryptocurrency. Like I want to set up a wallet, or like I want to do something in cryptocurrency. I want to go to this kiosk. Like what steps would someone have to do to do something at the kiosk? Like I want everybody to understand a little bit like how that process kind of works a little bit more.
So the kiosks there's two different types of kiosks. So one, you can just do the exchange of crypto, trade it, and the other is the type that you can actually withdraw fiat from. So you would need proper identification. The amount that you can withdraw would increase the amount of identification required for that kiosk. You would need to have a wallet set up. So each type of crypto, you would have a public wallet set up for that. There's many steps to this, and it's not something that you can just walk up and just do. So I think that segues also into the fraud that's been happening at the kiosk, is people, quote unquote, helping people to withdraw funds or transfer funds into their public crypto wallet. So that being said, any reputable person that isn't like your designated limited power of attorney, for example, would not accompany you to your ATM to withdraw funds from your bank. So the same thing is true with a crypto kiosk. Somebody trying to help you is probably not helping you when they say they're going to help you learn about setting up a wallet and withdrawing or moving funds at a cryptocurrency kiosk.
So to set up a wallet, do you just need, like a driver's license, like an ID kind of thing? Like, what do you need to actually open a wallet?
You really don't need much at all. You don't even need an ID. Anybody can set up a wallet. So you probably would need to set up a sub wallet on your internet browser, and then there's many steps to that process. So if you've never set this up before, it's not something I can walk you through on a podcast. Like, you would really need somebody who knows what they're doing to walk you through that, to make sure it's being set up safely, and also that you're saving your key. So there's a multi-word key that you would need to have. And if you lose that key, then you probably will never be able to access those funds again. So that's the other huge part of that. So,
and it's not like a key for a door. It's
a series of words. Like, it can be like sunflower, raindrop, just random words that have no association to each other at all. And that is your key. So store that key, print it out, and keep it in a very safe, locked place that isn't accessible to family, children, or whomever. The same way you would keep like your banking statements, all of your access to your banking and financial records. I would keep definitely that under lock and key.
Gotcha. Those are great tips.
Yeah.
You technically don't need to have a wallet like in your own name, if you will, to engage in cryptocurrency, right? Like, so say somebody was being asked to send something, like buy cryptocurrency and send it over. You don't necessarily need to have a wallet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's where some of, I think, the frauds and scams, which we're going to talk about, like, I feel like that's where some of that comes in, because it makes it a little easier for people to go to these kiosks and actually have it, some sort of transaction. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay. Well, so you did mention though that there are fees associated, and let's talk about the fees, because it seems like that's where I would feel. I seriously question using a kiosk because of the fees that are associated with it. So I don't know. Tell us about that.
So the fees, they should be very transparent, just like your fiat ATM. They can range anywhere between 7 and 20%. And then some also even charge an additional gas fee. So that's the fee from transferring, like converting Bitcoin to ETH, for example. There's gas fees associated with that. There's gas fees if I wanted to transfer, if I wanted to send you money from my Coinbase account to your Binance account, for example, there's an additional gas fee to that. So to all of those gas fees, that's one of the reasons why for me personally, it's called hodling, HODL. And that just means you don't touch it once you buy it. I just let it sit there. So I'm not a trader. I'm not any of those things. And that really greatly reduces the gas fees. But there are people that do this all day long. Like, they watch it just like any stock, and they'll just, or any commodity, and just move it all day long. And I'm not one of those people.
No time for that, right?
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, but the fees, I mean, a 20% plus an additional fee, like, that's a lot.
It's so much money. And that's where a good conversation for regulations.
Yes.
Where it standardizes those fees throughout the country. That would be very helpful. And those are things we're going to see, especially after the SEC determined there was no wrongdoing with XRP. And we have really good, reputable exchanges like Kraken and Coinbase here in the United States.
Yep, that makes sense. Yes, that is something the AARP is absolutely committed to working on for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That there we have to have something on that for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And then we talked about also like setting a limit on how much crypto you can withdraw. And to that, like again, always follow FinCEN's guidelines. They have very strict anti-money laundering laws. There's reports that need to be filed if there's certain activity that happens, and if a kiosk is registered with FinCEN, which they're absolutely supposed to be, then those are all guidelines set in place. But I encourage everybody to set up daily limits to mitigate any loss that could happen. And that can be somebody, I mean, it goes beyond somebody just following you to or coercing you into a kiosk to withdrawing money. You could lose a physical card. You could lose access to your key. You could lose all kinds of things. So these are just simple ways to mitigate those things that could happen, whether it's crypto or fiat.
Yeah, so let's dive into this. So, and this is kind of like multi-question, I guess, but so are these crypto kiosks, how are they secure? How are they secure? But like, obviously there are fraudulent things that are happening. So when how does someone know that they're, oh, wow, I'm experiencing a problem at this kiosk, like, because something's going on? Can the kiosk actually, outside of someone telling you, like, are there other things within the kiosk? Like, this is not, like, what should they be looking for? What are those precautions somebody should be considering when they're doing any transaction at a kiosk? So I know that's like a lot of questions in one, but.
Well, the kiosk should have a phone number or some type of contact information associated with it. Like I know J&J Ventures, for example, they have ATM, like regular fiat ATMs everywhere. So it should have a company name associated, who that kiosk is registered with. I would look at that. If you have any issues, like pay attention to any contact information, who the vendor is, where the location is, who the owners are of that location. And this doesn't necessarily make it fraudulent in any way, but if the owner of the kiosk is also the owner of the establishment where the kiosk is in place, there might be a conflict of interest there. There may not be. But if you're experiencing any issues, my suggestion would be to just stop everything you're doing, take a picture with your phone and walk away, log out and walk away.
Yep, that makes sense. Well, so how do you know that the kiosk is legitimate though? Like, where would you find that information? Like, how could you verify?
That's a good question. There should be, so the kiosk, if you do a quick search on Google, for example, of where these kiosks are located, it'll tell you where it's like who it is registered to. You could look at it from that angle. You could look at the physical kiosk itself. I mean, there's reputable people or businesses in the area. That's why I threw out J&J Ventures, because they literally are everywhere. So that's a name you see everywhere. So if you see a pattern of that business being in multiple locations, they're probably very reputable. You can even look it up on FinCEN, I believe, or you can even call FinCEN and say, hey, there's this kiosk here. I want to verify that if it's legitimate or not. But I don't think those are really huge issues with the kiosks themselves. That there's very, very strict guidelines, and the penalties are so harsh. I don't see people like throw it. I mean, that's way too expensive of a machine just to randomly throw out there and not register directly with FinCEN and follow the correct guidelines and laws associated with that. So, but I would look at the fees. If the fees are 20%, then probably it's not legitimate. So.
Gotcha. That's really helpful. Okay. So when you're at a kiosk, I think you kind of answered this, but I want to just verify. You can, say you have Bitcoin, but you want Ethereum or vice versa, or can you have different types of cryptocurrency that you're buying or trading or whatever at a kiosk?
Absolutely.
Okay. So it's not just, you have a Bitcoin kiosk, right? It's not just.
Well, there are just Bitcoin kiosks, but there are other kiosks that, depending on how it's set up and how the business is set up, you can exchange different currencies for other currencies. So, and it would make sense actually at this point for most kiosks to enable that, because I see more and more grandparents registering for accounts in Coinbase and having the best time talking about this topic with their grandchildren who are in high school or in college and are mining their own cryptocurrency. Like, this is very exciting for many people to be involved with. So, so yes, that's becoming more mainstream. So you're going to see a lot of that, the ability to do that just about anywhere you go next to your regular fiat ATMs.
Gotcha. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so I feel like we've talked very positively about cryptocurrency, which I think is good because there are many positive things, right?
Absolutely.
But there are things that are much more challenging and much more concerning. And because again, fraud can happen in really anything, right? And so, this is no exception. There is cryptocurrency fraud. So can you talk a little bit about those kind of common types of cryptocurrency fraud that happen?
Absolutely. So I became a part of the governor's blockchain initiative when I worked for the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. And when I did a whole deep dive onto this, I just became very passionate about this topic. And based on what I was witnessing at that time in Illinois, I was actually a speaker at a blockchain conference in Washington, D.C., and talked about the amount of fraud happening through the United States, where sanctioned countries were laundering billions of dollars through the United States through using cryptocurrency, and the importance of regulating all of this activity. That was back in 2018. And at the time, I truly believed I was the only person worried about this, because I was completely ignored trying to bring this to the state level. So my audience was actually a global intelligence community, which I was civilian talking really long about. It really sparked the conversation on many levels. And within 2 years, there were huge organizations set up in Washington, D.C. to work with federal regulators on this very topic.
So what are there types of fraud that happen in cryptocurrency, or are there just kind of just blatant fraud?
Any type of trafficking. So any type of trafficking, you can launder the money through cryptocurrency. But to that point, there is no type of trafficking that hasn't taken place forever with fiat currency. So to say it just started because of cryptocurrency is not accurate at all as far as illicit activity. But that is the huge issue, and I would say that's the number one. Until we have standardized standard regulatory platform throughout this country that works seamlessly with other countries, and that's the huge challenge. We're going to continue that huge issue with cryptocurrency. But in the meantime, we have federal laws that are already in place with FinCEN, huge anti-money laundering laws, the Bank Secrecy Act, et cetera, et cetera. So those are the platforms we should be looking at, and that is what they're currently using, which is great.
Yeah, gotcha. So I do know, and there's been lots of stories reported, I think as cryptocurrency gets more popular and more mainstream, as well as, fraudulent things are identified, they get highlighted, right? And so, you've heard of the person who maybe has the grandparent scheme, right? And they are, they're at home, they get the call and they're saying, their grandson is been in Europe and is, in a jail or something, and they need to send money to get him out. And they want to do it. Yes. I mean, sometimes, yes, they're using US currency or whatever, but now they're using cryptocurrency as a way to get funds. And so someone is then being directed, right, to a kiosk to take, $10,000 out or whatever through their debit card or their credit card to then send cryptocurrency to the criminal, right? So we know these stories are happening, right?
Absolutely.
So let's just talk about the prevention. What are the tips that you think are the best tips for people to just prevent fraud from happening in the first place?
So protect your data and your information. I always tell people stop putting your every family milestone on social media. Any criminal can steal your identity based on that information. Just looking at your Facebook profile.
Yep. I mean, people put a lot of stuff out on social media, 100%, birthdays, and I mean, where they work, where they live,
and they make a code to their lock saves their passwords, my dog's name, and plus my first child's date of birth, all of those things. Those are very easy things, and whether it's crypto or fiat, the preventative is the same. Just protect your information. Don't break the law. If somebody is coercing you into taking your money by complying with it, you two are active. Even though you are a victim, you are a part of the illicit activity that is taking place. So absolutely call the police immediately if you suspect any type of fraud or anything happening to you. If they tell you we're going to commit an even bigger crime, if you do contact the police, still contact law enforcement. That's usually depending on what the situation is, of course, that varies, but generally just always contact your local law enforcement and let them know, and then you're helping other people rather than aiding and abetting a criminal in their activity.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, if someone's been a victim, what should they do? What also should they have with them? What would they, in cryptocurrency specifically, if they have done something at a kiosk or whatever, what would they give to law enforcement, or what would help their case, I guess, and potentially any restitution and hopefully getting anything back if they, gave money?
So the kiosks, as well as the establishments where the kiosks are at, there's generally cameras associated with that. You would have your ID associated with that. So there would be a timestamp. It's very, very helpful in an investigation. Also, with any crypto transaction, there's a key, there's a code that goes with that transaction. Right. That is actually very helpful in a criminal investigation, where that wouldn't be necessarily available if you just handed one person cash to another without any type of electronic transfer. So that is one benefit with cryptocurrency. But those are, and then setting limits on everything and not associating your bank account to a crypto kiosk would be another thing, which generally you would not be able to do unless you're doing it through an exchange such as Coinbase or Kraken, where your bank account is associated with that. And then again, set limits to what those withdrawals can be.
Mm-hmm. These are all great tips. Awesome. Thank you so very much.
Of course.
I can't believe this, but we are at the end of our time.
That went fast,
it goes so fast. It goes so fast, right? You have been extraordinary in really breaking this down. I think it's been so valuable. I've learned so much too. Any final thoughts or advice people should know before we kind of end our time together?
Yeah, don't let the word cryptocurrency scare you. Just think of it the same way as you would any other type of currency. And then, especially when it comes to fraud, treat it the same way as you would your own hard, cold cash money.
That's perfect. I love it. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much to Kathleen. We appreciate you. You have been enlightening and just appreciate your time. So thank you for joining me today. And thank you to everybody for this enlightening conversation and being present. Remember, the power to create positive change lies within each of us. So please, enjoy your day, but hopefully you'll be coming back to us next month. We're going to be talking more about fraud. As we do, we're going to go deeper into fraud advocacy. So we know there's things happening at the federal level. We know things are happening at the state level. So we're going to really dive deep into those pieces of legislation. We'll have some special guests to help us understand that. And we are going to be raising our voices and advocate for safer protections. Once again, thank you Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to continuing our mission of supporting older adults, caregivers, the entire aging community in Illinois and across the country For more information regarding fraud, you can call 1-877-908-3360. That's 877-908-3360. That is our Fraud Watch Network hotline. You can also visit our website, which is aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. That's aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. If you would like any more information about AARP's upcoming virtual events, including our fraud fighting, please visit aarp.org/Illinois. So aarp.org/Illinois. Thank you so very much again. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. And this concludes our virtual event. Stay safe, everybody. And thanks again, Kathleen.
Thank you, Courtney.